I'm Thomas. I'm one of the founders of Flybox, and we build modular insect farms. As you probably already know, about 2.5 billion tons of food is wasted every year, and that generates hundreds of millions of tons of CO2. But the key problem here is that that's a massive cost and regulatory issue for both the food and agri-tech sectors. So the current solutions just aren't sustainable. We're talking mainly about landfill and incineration, which emit a huge amount of CO2 and methane, as we already know, and traditional alternatives, such as biogas, which has been very popular over the last 10 or 20 years, still doesn't solve the food waste issue. It's just recycling rather than keeping food in the system. And both food producers and governments already know this. In the UK, for instance, where I'm from, they're banning municipal waste to landfill by 2028, so they need solutions for this. In places where we work in East Africa, places such as India, even just sending it to landfill becomes things like a political issue for local municipalities. And we're seeing food manufacturers increasingly require zero food waste as part of their ESG strategies. So that's over and above net zero, but zero food waste. And that's particularly important because they also include all of their suppliers in this. So if they're importing food into Europe, they'll be expecting to see food waste reductions. And so there's a need for a more sustainable solution, which there hasn't really been to date. So insect farming, our sector, offers that solution. It really is the only thing that can fit all of those needs. At a really kind of high level, what you do is you take organic waste. This can be municipal waste, but also can be from factories. Food processing, there's often a lot of waste in a centralized location there. And you bioconvert it over a period of 10 days. That just means the insects, the larvae, consume it and grow to full scale. And at the end, you separate it, you sieve it, and you have the fully grown larvae, which is ideal for things like poultry feed, swine, aquaculture, and fertilizer. They're manure, essentially, very high nitrogen-rich fertilizer. So the sector to date has really focused on these big centralized facilities, particularly in Europe and a bit in North America. And we're talking about 10, 20, 30, $40 million size facilities. Very centralized. And what we saw when we were seeing that, when we started the business, is that there was an opportunity to offer a more decentralized, smaller scale, but still commercial scale solution, one which makes sense in the global south, such as India, such as East Africa, but also one which makes sense in many locations where things like logistics are more difficult, because you're dealing with huge amounts of tonnage of food waste in each location. So we essentially have developed a solution which can be offered bespoke to customer needs. I won't go into too much detail, but very keen to discuss with people afterwards. We tend to split up what we offer between the R&D pilot farms versus the commercial farms. R&D is often with universities or at smaller scale, and then the commercial farms tend to be co-located with, for instance, food manufacturers. And that's powered by our unique tech. It's particularly the climate control internals of our containerized rearing units, things like heat, temperature, humidity, ammonia and CO2, as well as the automation flow. So we've got a huge amount of expertise on the pre and post processing that allows this to be done in a commercial way, not just in a kind of scientific way. And that allows us to offer a plug-and-play insect farm. So that's particularly for partnerships with people such as waste managers, municipalities, as well as farmers, as I mentioned, in poultry, swine, and aquaculture in particular. So that's what we do. As I've mentioned, we're really keen on having discussions with partners in the waste management sector, municipalities, as well as in the agri-tech, food and fertilizer sectors. Thank you.